Officially ended. Woo! Thank God, bitch. I need to take off this jacket. Hold on. Throwing that shit around was hard. But don't be lighting up in here, by the way. I'm getting in trouble, okay? Help me! Help me!
Take it off!
There we go. There we go. Who the hell told me it was a good idea to wear a fur jacket in fucking June? June and July? June in Texas! I feel so much better. These rubber titties keep me warm enough, okay? Okay? I'd like to say this is not fake titty weather, bitch, alright? Okay, so out of the over 200 anti-LGBTQ bills filed, 94% of them were killed. Make some noise for that. Yes, thank you to everybody who made their voice heard, who dropped cards, who showed up to the Capitol, who called their representatives, who showed up to testify. Make some noise if you testified. Make some noise if you dropped some cards. Make some noise if you, I don't know, called your representatives. Emailed your representatives. I don't know what else. Punch them in the, just kidding. Don't do that, don't do that. Just throw the CPD gummies at them, okay? Okay, no, actually, we should have like a joint circle around Greg Abbott's house and just, no, Dan Patrick's house. Anybody know where he lives? Y'all can be in my, what is it called, smoke circle? What? Blood rotation! Smoke circle, what am I saying? Y'all can be in my Dan Patrick house blunt rotation. That's what we're gonna do after the gig, okay? I'll see y'all there? That's why I brought those joints. We're just gonna be passing them around his house, okay? And then we brought some of the gummies just to throw at him in case he walks out. Okay, I'm done. Now we have to be serious. We're ready to get into the serious shit. So all this information is from Equality Texas, okay? They have a really great review, Texas Ledge overview, about all of the bills that passed and their implications and next steps on what you can do to help resist them. Okay, y'all ready to go into it? Let's get into it. First things first, HB 229, which it codifies a binary definition of sex in Texas, defining a female, an individual whose reproductive system is developed to produce ova, and male, an individual whose reproductive system is developed to fertilize ova. I think, they sit there and they try to say that they're sitting here protecting women, and then they literally reduce women to their fucking ova and ability to be fertile and reproduce. I think that's misogynistic as hell, don't y'all? I think that's fucking disgusting. And yes, intersex exclusion. It's right here. Yes, what about intersex people, right? It effectively erases them. The bill mandates that all state records reflect this definition, overriding the existing legal gender markers for trans individuals and erasing intersex people whose biology does not fit this framework, okay? So what does this mean? It is a legal erasure of trans Texans. Over 120,000 trans Texans with updated gender markers would be faced with inconsistencies with state and federal IDs, exposing them to harassment, discrimination, or violence in daily interactions, okay? It really does put trans people in harm's way, okay? And there is also an intersex exclusion. I'm like, what's going on up there? Intersex exclusion. The bill's binary definition excludes the 1.7% of Texans born with intersex traits. Haya went over some intersex facts and information last week, okay? And the law fails to provide legal recognition or protections for intersex individuals, and systemic confusion. So state agencies like DPS and DSHS must spend $2.5 million. That's what's happening with your tax dollars, y'all. $2.5 million to remove unknown sex designations from databases. in creating administrative chaos for agencies and individuals, okay? On to the next one. What can we do now? Community support. Public education. Equality Texas is launching a statewide Know Your Rights campaign, okay? Underscoring specifics of this law and potential impacts, okay? To being in late 2025. Uplift mental health resources, especially for your trans friends, okay? Mental health networks, uplift organizations like Trans Lifeline, the Treasure Project, and NAMI to provide crisis support and public advocacy, okay? Push cities and counties to adopt sanctuary policies recognizing gender self-identification as seen in Austin and Dallas, okay? So this is things that we can pressure our local city officials on. Equality Texas is already working on legislation. They're already working on the next fucking legislative session. Make some noise for that, okay? To try to reverse and mitigate the impacts of this legislation, okay? On to the next one. SB 118. That's how you win bingo, bitch, okay? Let's see. Who was it? Okay, bring it to Hyatt, see? Do we need more stickers? I can get more stickers too. Okay, Senate Bill 1188 mandates the electronic health records to include distinct, unalterable field for an individual's biological sex at birth, defined as the reproductive trait determining production of male or female gametes. Again, reducing this to the fucking gametes, fucking cellular bullshit. The bill allows changes to this field only for clerical errors or in cases of diagnosed sexual development disorders. While binary sex records are required, the bill does not allow for additional information related to gender identity to be recorded in a separate section. They're like, you can't even record it if you want to. It also gives parents and guardians unrestricted access to minors' health records and imposes fines of up to $250,000 for non-compliance. Okay? On to the next one.
However, I shouldn't totally know.
So what does this mean? It will cause misgendering, okay? Trans and non-binary individuals will be required to have their sex assigned at birth prominently displayed in EHRs, potentially leading to misgendering and exposure of sensitive personal information to healthcare providers and support staff. The privacy of trans kids, right? Minors' records are accessible to parents and guardians without restriction, which could out trans youth to unsupported families, increasing the risk of abuse, neglect, and family conflict. Barriers to care. Fear of being outed or discriminated against may cause individuals to avoid seeking necessary health care. Especially sensitive or gender-affirming services, providers may struggle with EHR fields that do not align with a patient's lived gender, leading to errors or inappropriate screening recommendations, okay? So they're going after trans healthcare. Going farther than required, providers risk financial penalties for non-compliance, which may lead to over-compliance and reluctance to provide affirming care or update records appropriately. And an erosion of trust. Parents may lose trust in healthcare systems, fearing that their records could be used against them or shared without consent, okay? Something we talked about last week is how they are sharing medical information across states, right? So this is something to be aware of. Trans Texans required specialized health care, and this could impact the health of the whole community, all right? So that's that one. On to the next one. This is only the first two, okay? I promise. We're getting through it. What can we do now? Reach out to vendors. So Equality Texas has identified 15 electronic health record vendors that operate in Texas, okay? And they sent letters to the providers making recommendations to ensure that updates to their systems would include specific steps to mitigate potential harms of this legislation. So there are people working to try to make this as least harmful as possible, okay? So I hope you see a little bit of, there's still people fighting, bitch, okay? Community education and advocacy. Equality Texas is also working with healthcare partners to ensure that trans, non-binary, and intersex individuals know their rights, how to navigate these systems, and how to advocate for themselves in healthcare settings, okay? Okay? On to the next one. Is everybody doing okay? You're doing all right. The bar's right back there if you need it, okay? SB 1257 mandates that health insurers covering gender-affirming care must also cover any costs related to detransitioning, okay? So this is something we've been following. Even for individuals who are not enrolled in the same insurance plan during their initial transition, any and all possible adverse effects of gender-affirming care, including lifelong monitoring and reconstructive procedures, annual mental and physical health screens for individuals who have undergone transition-related care, okay? So this just makes it extremely, like they can't understand like how the financial risk of providing healthcare to trans people, right? Whenever you're sitting there and saying like, okay, you're gonna have to cover all this other stuff related to detransitioning for their entire life, right? Which is also a very small percentage of people who detransition, and you're focused more on that than people who need that access to that care in the first place, right? Okay, on to the next one. So what does it mean? It increases the cost of healthcare, okay? So insurance companies are by nature risk adverse, requiring plans to include coverage of gender-affirming care, also include a whole host of other medical services. The cost of covering gender-affirming care will escalate. This will likely be passed along to the end consumer, increasing the cost of insurance for trans people in the state of Texas. Insurance companies ending coverage for gender-affirming care. In the past with bills that hint at even small changes, we have seen a swift and extreme response from I was like to say, Greg Abbott, is that you? No, we just have to wait a second. I can hit my weed pen in the meantime. Okay, back at it. Rather than increasing the wait a minute. Where was I? Okay, rather than increasing the cost of insurance plans that cover gender-affirming care, insurers may immediately stop covering gender-affirming care to avoid open-ended liability for transition costs. Okay, so I kind of already talked about that already. Tedium and more paperwork. Healthcare providers may face complex billing requirements, prior authorization hurdles, and documentation demands. This would delay essential care and unreliable healthcare. If the patients are unable to afford care due to increased insurance costs or coverage being dropped by their insurer, many may turn to unlicensed providers or DIY treatments, okay? And what do you think that that's gonna do? It's gonna put people in more harm, okay? On to the next one. What do we do now? Reach out to insurers. So they are reaching out to insurance providers that cover gender-affirming care before the legislation goes into effect, and they're providing steps to ensure coverage remains affordable and accessible while remaining compliant with the law, okay? So they're trying their best, all right? On to the next one. HB 1106 amends the Texas Family Code to clarify that a parent's refusal to affirm a child's gender identity or orientation does not constitute, I should have hit that weed pen in the middle of this. Child abuse or neglect. This includes withholding access to gender-affirming care, rejecting a child's chosen name and pronouns, or refusing to support their LGBTQ identity. So it basically legalizes child abuse. Right? That's fucking disgusting. Child abuse for LGBTQ plus kids. Right? On to the next one.
We got a bingo.
We got a bingo? What is it? Is it a blackout? Oh, we're on blackout now, sorry. I should have clarified, but congratulations on getting the X. We are now on the blackout, right? Right, okay. So what does this mean? Barriers to protection. CPS and courts will be unable to intervene in cases where parental rejection causes psychological harm, even if linked to self-harm or suicidality, okay? For example, a trans child denied medical health care, subjected to conversion therapy by parents would no longer be protected. Okay? Increased isolation, LGBTQ youth may feel abandoned by systems meant to protect them, exacerbating mental health crises. Data from the Trevor Project shows that 49% of Texas trans and non-binary youth seriously considered suicide in 2024. Chilling effect on reporting. Teachers, doctors, and social workers may hesitate to report familial rejection as abuse, fearing legal repercussions or confusion over the law's scope. And normalizing rejection. Parents could interpret the law as state-sanctioned permission to reject or stigmatize their child's LGBTQ identity, worsening rates of homelessness and familial estrangement. Similar laws in Tennessee and Florida correlate with increased LGBTQ youth homelessness and mental health service avoidance. Yeah, this one's hard. On to the next one. What can we do now? Public education. They are doing the Know Your Rights campaign that we talked about earlier. Share mental health resources again, like Trans Lifeline and Trevor Project. Improve training, so work with partner orgs to train educators, healthcare providers, and CPS staff to identify and address non-physical abuse while navigating this bill's constraints. And policy advocacy, okay? Preparing legislation for the 2027 session, okay? So LGBTQ students, chilling interventions against bullying in Texas. Students in places like Katy ISD already face blocked access to. So the gay straight alliances and pride events will be dismantled or restricted under vague facility usage reporting rules, okay? Similar laws in Florida saw 30% of LGBTQ youth avoid school clubs due to fear of exposure. Was anybody at the GSA in high school? You were the president? Oh, we got the president over here. Yeah. Who else was in it? Yeah? That's cute. Oh, yeah. Okay. Increased mental health crises. The Trevor Project's 2024 data shows 49% of trans youth considered suicide, okay? On to the next one. What can we do? Public education. We're back to the Know Your Rights campaign and educate stakeholders, train teachers and administrators on LGBTQ inclusivity and trauma-informed care. Public advocacy, amplify youth voices like students engaged in advancing Texas to counter harmful narratives, okay? And legislative advocacy, so continuing to prepare for the 2027 legislative session. On to the next one. HB 18 aims to expand healthcare access in rural Texas by establishing grant programs, telehealth resources, and financial stabilization for stabilization for rural hospitals. Thank you. Key components include grants for rural hospitals to support maternal health, pediatric care, mental health services, telehealth expansion, infrastructure improvements to addressing staffing shortages. An amendment proposed, added by Representative Toth, proposed inserted language to invalidate parental consent for mental health services that affirm a gender's child identity inconsistent with their biological sex, okay? The amendment was accepted and adopted into the legislation. While HB 18 itself is focused on expanding healthcare access in rural Texas through grants, telehealth, and financial stabilization. Did I say that right? Yes. For rural hospitals, the amendment does not directly impact the mechanisms or eligibility for funding for rural hospitals as outlined in the bill's core provisions. On to the next one. So what does this mean? Reduced access to mental health services. Rural providers may become hesitant to offer certain mental health services to children and adolescents, especially those related to gender identity, to avoid legal or regulatory complications, okay? This could limit the range of services available to rural families and potentially reduce patient volume or satisfaction. Compliance costs and administrative burden. Hospitals and clinics may incur additional costs to ensure compliance with the new restrictions, such as updating consent forms, staff training, and legal review, which could divert resources from patient care or infrastructure improvements. Impact in community trust. Rural hospitals need community trust to maintain financial stability. If families perceive that needed mental health services are unavailable or that providers are constrained by state law, they may seek care elsewhere or forego treatment altogether, okay? Potentially reducing hospital revenues. And there's no direct funding cut. The amendment does not cut or redirect any funding streams for rural hospitals, nor does it alter grant eligibility or reimbursement rates for rural hospitals. Yeah, this one's a lot about hospital stuff. I don't know much about, but on to the next one. What? That was it! Y'all go crazy over there. Was there any other prizes in the back, or is that it? That's it.
Some people might need to go.
Okay, did everybody get something? Get something over there, okay? I do have to say this is my last slide of legislation and liberation. So I just, what? Yes? Do you want to come speak up here? Y'all make some noise for Landon. Landon is a part of the Transgender Education Network of Texas, okay? And who was our very first guest for legislation and liberation. So excited to have you back.
Just a note on a lot of these bills, because they're really overwhelming and scary and have pretty bad implications. So a note on these bills. Because these are really scary and overwhelming, this session has just been an onslaught, right? These bills will not go into effect until September 1st, so they are not currently in effect right now. There may be, like Brigitte talks about, complicity and bowing down in advance of before you need to. Many EHRs, many health insurance companies might start to change their policies before this September 1st deadline, but there are also going to be likely legal challenges to a lot of these bills to block them before they even go into effect. And so this is what we're looking at. September 1st is the date that they will go into effect, but a lot of them will face legal challenges.
Yes, take these bitches to court, bitch! Take them to court! I'll make some noise for tents, okay? We do have a lot of really amazing organizations who are doing a lot of work. Equality Texas, Trans Texas, HRC in the back. Make sure you go visit their booth, okay? And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported legislation and liberation, okay? This is absolutely not what I ever expected I would be doing with my drag career whenever I started drag, bitch. But I'm happy that I'm here, and I'm happy to be in community with all of you, okay? I know that we live in a very scary time right now, but remember that we always have each other no matter what, okay? And whenever you are feeling lonely or sad, come to a fucking drag show, find some kind of community event, okay? Be with your people. That's what I find helps me, is getting offline and stopping the doom scrolling and being with my community and reminding myself that I am not alone, and we will always find pure joy and resistance no matter what, okay? And then I'm going to say my thank yous, okay? I want to thank the interpreters. Make some noise for the interpreters. Also make some noise for my assistant one more time. Hi, Zakai. Also make some noise for Oil Can Hearings for hosting this. I did pitch this event to multiple bars, and it was OCH that called me back. So make some noise for OCH. In all honesty, I almost didn't go through with it because I had so much self-doubt. Should this even be something that I'm doing with my time? There's so many other people who have more experience and knowledge on these issues and whatnot. But guess what? We can all show up however we can. You are never not qualified enough, not loud enough, not whatever the fuck enough. Show the fuck up, okay? Okay? Anyway, I think that's it. I'm gonna start crying. I need to get off stage, but this is great. drag show portion of our evening, okay? That's right, because at the end of all of this, we're gonna have some drag, we're gonna have some fun. Does that sound cool with everybody? Okay, on to the next one real quick. There's one more slide. There's one more! Oh, well, I guess you don't need that one anymore. But I do have the City of Austin LGBTQ Quality of Life Commission, okay? So here in Austin, we do have a commission dedicated to LGBTQ people, and I am on it! That's right, this is what a city official looks like. We also have KB over here. KB is also on the commission. And we meet the third Mondays, we keep switching this up. Third Mondays at 6:30 at City Hall, okay? So if you want to come, be a part of what's happening, you have some policies, local policies that you would like to see here, come talk to us, bitch, okay? We're people who will actually listen to you, okay? Unlike the people at the fucking Capitol, okay? And then we also have the Austin Trans Resource Guide, okay? KB and I and others, a part of the commission, put together some trans resources here. We have physical copies here if you need it. We also have it online right here, okay? It's linked in my presentation. It is also on my link tree if you need it. Also, if you have something that you'd like to add to the resource guide, there's an option for that too, okay? Okay, we ready to get into the drag? Kaya, are you ready to start? You want to just get into it? Do y'all want to take a quick break or y'all want to just go into it? Let's just go for it? Okay, what time is it right now? What am I at? Okay, we're doing good. Y'all, after this, we have Alexander the Great starting his new show. Did y'all hear that there's a new TV reality drag show? It's a drag king competition. It's a drag king. And Alexander the Great, our own local Austin drag king, is on the premiere season. So fucking cool, bitch, okay? So be sure y'all stick around and support him. But before that, we have some drag. Starting the drag performances off, we have the holiest one. Looking so holy. Yes, okay. They have been my assistant for all of legislation, showing up every single week, making sure I have my shit together, bitch. Y'all make some noise for Haya Sakai!